She thought she could play us both, but our joint revenge made her regret everything. My name's Damon, I'm 29, and I sell agricultural equipment. Not the small stuff, we're talking $500,000 combines and irrigation systems to massive farming operations. It's a job that requires reading people, understanding leverage, and knowing when someone's trying to pull one over on you. Skills that apparently translate well to other areas of life. I've been with Sienna for 8 months. She's 27, works in pharmaceutical sales, and I thought we had something real. We met at a trade conference in Des Moines. Her company had the booth next to mine. She was wearing this navy dress that made her look like she owned the whole convention center. Smart, ambitious, gorgeous, the kind of woman who knew exactly what she wanted and how to get it. The first few months were perfect. She matched my energy, understood the demands of sales life, and never complained about the travel. We'd meet up in random cities when our territories overlapped. She'd text me photos from hospital parking lots she was visiting for work. I'd send her videos from massive farms I was surveying. It felt like we were building something while building our careers. 6 months in, things started feeling off. Not in obvious ways, Sienna was too smart for that. It was the subtle stuff. She'd mention a restaurant she'd never been to, then catch herself. Her phone went from casually lying around to being perpetually face down. She started having more emergency client dinners that ran late. I'm not an insecure guy. I don't go through phones or demand constant check-ins. But I'm also not stupid. In my line of work, when a farmer starts avoiding eye contact while discussing payment terms, you know something's up. Same principle applies here. 2 weeks ago, everything clicked into place. We share locations, her idea originally, for safety when traveling alone. She said she had a last-minute client emergency at the hospital downtown. Her location showed her at Rosewood Steakhouse, 40 minutes away. Not exactly where you'd handle a pharmaceutical crisis. Here's where most guys would have stormed in, caused a scene, maybe thrown a drink. Not me. I've negotiated too many deals to know that emotional reactions kill your leverage. Instead, I drove there, parked across the street, and waited. She walked out at 10:47 p.m. with a guy. Tall, athletic build, wearing a pilot's uniform. They weren't holding hands, but the body language was clear, the way she touched his arm when she laughed, how he guided her by the small of her back to a black Audi S5. I took photos. Not many, just enough. I followed them to an apartment complex on the north side. High-end place with a parking garage. They went inside together. She didn't leave until 1:15 a.m. The drive home gave me time to think. Part of me wanted to call her right then, listen to her scramble for excuses. But that would be playing checkers when this situation called for chess. I needed information before I made any moves. Finding the pilot wasn't hard. The uniform had wings and a name tag visible in one photo, Rico M. A quick LinkedIn search for pilots named Rico in our city brought up Rico Morales, 31, commercial pilot for Atlas Airlines. His Instagram was public. Lots of travel photos, lifestyle shots, and... wait. 3 weeks ago, there was a photo from a cocktail bar I recognized. The caption, when she surprises you after a long flight. The date. The same night Sienna had told me she was visiting her sick mother in Omaha. I spent 3 days debating what to do. Confront her? Ghost her? Blow up Rico's spot? Then I realized I was thinking about this wrong. This wasn't just about me anymore. Rico deserved to know too. The message I sent him was simple. No accusations, no anger. Just a photo of Sienna at my apartment, wearing my old Iowa State hoodie, clearly visible timestamp from last Tuesday when Rico was presumably flying. The message read, I think we need to talk about Sienna. This isn't what you think it is. He read it immediately. 3 dots appeared and disappeared several times. Finally, can you meet tomorrow? Brendan's bar on 5th, 7 p.m.? I'll be there. I haven't confronted Sienna yet. She has no idea I know. Last night, she stayed over, and we watched Netflix like nothing was wrong. She told me about her day, kissed me goodnight, and fell asleep while I lay there planning my next move. Tomorrow I meet Rico. I'm not going in angry, anger clouds judgment. I'm going in prepared. I've got screenshots of every text where she said she loved me, receipts from dinners she said were the best night ever, and a timeline of our entire relationship. Because here's what I learned selling equipment to farmers who've been burned before, trust is earned through transparency. If Rico and I are going to handle this right, we need all cards on the table. I don't know what comes next, but I know this, Sienna thinks she's playing in the minor leagues. She's about to find out what happens when you try to run game on someone who does it professionally. We'll update after tomorrow's meeting. Update 1. The meeting that changed everything. Posted 3 days after original. The meeting with Rico exceeded every expectation I had. I got to Brendan's early, picked a corner booth with good sight lines. Old habit from client meetings, never let yourself be surprised. Rico walked in right at 7, and I knew immediately this was going to be interesting. The guy carried himself like someone who'd been through some things. No nervous energy, no visible anger, just focused. He slid into the booth, ordered a Guinness, and said, "Before we start, I need to know, how long?" 8 months. You? 6. We just looked at each other for a moment. Then he pulled out his phone. "I did some digging after your message. Tell me if any of this sounds familiar." The similarities were f***ing eerie. She called us both babe, but in that specific way where she'd draw it out. Saturday mornings were sacred for her gym routine. Now we know why neither of us saw her Saturday mornings. She was allergic to shellfish with both of us. Her favorite wine? Same Pinot Noir she'd discovered with each of us. She had the same work emergency excuse rotation. But here's where it got interesting. Rico had receipts I didn't, and vice versa. She'd been telling him she was an only child. She told me about her sister in Denver. She told him her father died when she was young. I'd met her father twice. The thing that PSS me off most, Rico said, nursing his third beer, isn't even the cheating. It's the unnecessary lies. Like, why make up dead relatives? We compared calendars. The overlap was surgical in its precision. When I was traveling for work, she was with him. When he was flying international routes, she was with me. She'd even used our actual schedules that we'd shared with her to plan her double life. Then Rico showed me something that changed everything. Screenshots from a group chat with her friends. One of them had sent them to him months ago when they'd briefly dated, before Sienna swooped in. The messages were about me. About him. About how she was keeping her options open and securing the bag. One message stood out: why choose when they both think they're winning? Damon's got that property money coming and Rico's pulling pilot salary. I'm set either way. Property money. She was referring to the land I'd inherited from my grandfather, 200 acres of farmland I was planning to develop. I'd told her about it in confidence, about my plans to build something there eventually. Rico had mentioned his investment portfolio to her, apparently worth mid-six figures from smart crypto plays years ago. She's not just cheating, I said. She's running a long con. Rico leaned back. So what do we do? Because I'll be honest, my first instinct is to ghost her and let you deal with it. That's exactly what she'd want. One of us disappears, she keeps the other, no consequences. We sat there for another hour, not as rivals but as strategists. Rico had this cold precision about him that I respected. Turned out he'd been through something similar in the military, found out his ex-fiancée was engaged to 2 other servicemen. He knew how this game worked. Here's what I'm thinking, I said, pulling up my calendar. Her company's quarterly celebration is in 3 weeks. She's getting some sales award. Big deal for her. She invited me to that, Rico said. Me too. As her +1. We looked at each other, and the same idea hit simultaneously. But here's the thing, Rico continued, just showing up isn't enough. That's amateur hour. She'd spin it somehow, make us look like the crazy exes who couldn't let go. He was right. Sienna was too smart, too connected. We needed something bulletproof. That's when I told him about my recording app. Legal in our state for personal conversations. I'd been using it for client meetings for years. Rico had something better, a friend who worked AV at the hotel where her company event was happening. We need more evidence first, Rico said. 3 weeks to build an airtight case. We keep dating her, acting normal, but document everything. Every lie, every contradiction, every manipulative move. You good with that? Keeping up the act? He finished his beer. I flew combat missions in Afghanistan. I can handle 3 weeks of dinner and fake smiles. We exchanged secure contact info, Signal app, encrypted. Set up a shared cloud folder for evidence. Then we laid out the rules. No emotional decisions. Everything calculated. Document everything, screenshots, recordings, photos. Don't change behavior patterns, she'll notice. Share intel daily, no sleeping with her anymore, we both agreed on this immediately. The end goal isn't just exposure, it's complete dismantling of her game. Before we left, Rico asked, "You sure about this? We could just walk away." Could you? Really? He thought about it. No. It's not about her anymore. It's about principle. Nobody should get away with this level of manipulation. We shook hands. Not as enemies who'd discovered they were sharing a girlfriend, but as allies about to wage psychological warfare. The next 3 weeks were going to be interesting. Sienna texted me while I was driving home, "Hope your client dinner went well, babe. Missing you." I responded, "Went perfectly. Close the deal. Can't wait to see you tomorrow." She had no idea how true that was. Update 2, 3 weeks of building the case. Posted 2 weeks later. The past 2 weeks have been an education in deception. Not hers, we already knew about that. I mean discovering just how deep this went. Rico and I turned intelligence gathering into an art form. We had a shared document tracking everything, color-coded by type of lie, cross-referenced with timestamps, backed up with evidence. It looked like something out of a corporate fraud investigation, which honestly wasn't far from the truth. Here's a sample of what we discovered. Week 1. She told me she was visiting a client in St. Louis. Told Rico she was at a pharma conference in Minneapolis. Her Instagram, under a fake account we found, showed her at a spa resort in Wisconsin with someone named Brad, a third guy neither of us knew about. That's right. There were 3 of us. Brad, as it turned out, was a real estate developer she'd been seeing for 4 months. Rico found him through some detective work involving tagged locations and mutual friends. We didn't reach out to him, 2 was strategic, 3 would be chaos. But we documented everything. The financial con. This went deeper than either of us initially thought. She'd been pushing me to invest in a friend's startup, some wellness app that needed seed funding. Told me it was a sure thing, that she'd already put in $30,000 of her own money. Rico got the same pitch, but for $50,000. The company was real, but her connection wasn't. She was getting a finder's fee for bringing in investors. I played along, even met with the founder, who had no idea about Sienna's relationships. Recorded the whole thing. The founder admitted Sienna would get 15% of any investment she brought in. She stood to make $12,000 off me alone if I'd invested. The emotional manipulation. This was the part that really got to both of us. She had files on her phone. Rico saw them when she was showering. Actual notes about our personalities, weaknesses, triggers. My file mentioned my grandfather's death and how to use it to seem supportive. Rico's mentioned his combat PTSD and how to appear understanding without actually engaging with it. She'd studied us like marks. Week 2. The coordination between Rico and me became seamless. We'd created an entire communication system. If one of us was with her, the other would know. We'd even staged some close calls to test her reaction. Once, I randomly decided to visit a restaurant where Rico had just checked in with her. She managed to get him to leave through the back while texting me that the place was packed and suggesting somewhere else. The woman had contingency plans for her contingency plans. But she got sloppy. Started mixing up details. Called me by Rico's nickname once, caught herself, but I saw it. Told Rico about a concert we'd gone to, thinking it was him. The stress of juggling 3 relationships was showing. The trophy room. Here's something kept up. She kept trophies. Rico discovered this when he was at her place. A box in her closet with items from different guys. My college watch I thought I'd lost. Rico's squadron coin. Items from men we didn't even know about. She was collecting us like achievements. We photographed everything without disturbing it. The final week. This is when we started setting the trap. Her company event was coming up. She'd invited both of us on different nights, thinking she was being clever. Tuesday for me, Thursday for Rico. The actual event was Friday. I acted excited, even bought a new suit. Made a big deal about meeting her colleagues. Meanwhile, Rico played it cooler, said he might have a flight conflict. She spent hours convincing him to rearrange his schedule. The manipulation was breathtaking to watch when you knew what was happening. Her friends were in on it. Not the full extent, but enough. We found group chats where they'd joke about her roster and give advice on juggling. One friend, Keisha, seemed uncomfortable with it, pushing back occasionally. We made note of that. The nuclear option. 3 days ago, we found something that changed our entire plan. Rico's AV friend pulled the event's guest list and seating arrangement. Sienna wasn't just getting an award, she was being promoted to regional sales director. There would be corporate executives there, including the CEO of her company. She'd also registered both of us as +1s on different nights, billing the company for both reservations at $200 a plate. Technical corporate fraud, even if minor. But the real kicker? Her new position required a morality clause. Standard corporate stuff about representing the company values. We read through her company's code of conduct. What she was doing with the investment kickbacks alone would violate 3 different sections. The decision. Rico and I met yesterday for final planning. We had enough evidence to destroy her life several times over. The question was how far to go. I keep thinking about the morality clause, Rico said. She's about to get a position where she'll have power over other people's careers. He was right. This wasn't just about personal revenge anymore. Someone this manipulative in a position of power? How many subordinates would she exploit? We decided on the full nuclear option. The plan. We both show up to the actual event on Friday. Rico's AV friend has prepared a presentation that will accidentally play during a technical difficulty. The presentation includes evidence of everything: the 3 relationships, the investment fraud, the trophy collection, the corporate dinner fraud. We've also prepared USB drives with full documentation for key attendees. Keisha, the uncomfortable friend, has agreed to confirm everything if asked. Rico reached out to her, and she was horrified when she learned the full extent. Today is Thursday. Tomorrow is the event. Sienna thinks I'm in Chicago on business and Rico's flying to Seattle. She's been texting both of us about how she wishes we could be there for her big moment. She's right. We wouldn't miss it for the world. The next update will be the final one. By Saturday morning, Sienna's carefully constructed world will be rubble. I'm not nervous. I'm not angry. I'm not even satisfied yet. I'm just focused on execution. Tomorrow, she learns what happens when you mistake kindness for weakness and patience for ignorance. Rico just texted, uniform is pressed. USB drives loaded. AV confirmed. You ready? I've never been more ready for anything in my life. Update 3, the execution. Posted 3 days after previous update. Friday, October 13th. The Meridian Hotel, Ballroom C. 7 p.m. I walked in at 7:15, fashionably late. The cocktail hour was in full swing, probably 200 people, mix of pharma reps, corporate executives, and their guests. Open bar, past appetizers, the whole corporate celebration package. Sienna was holding court near the bar, wearing a black cocktail dress I'd bought her for her birthday. She was laughing at something her regional VP was saying, completely in her element. The future regional sales director, networking like her life depended on it. In a way, it did. I grabbed a scotch from the bar and positioned myself where she'd eventually see me, but not immediately. Rico was already there, other side of the room, in his full pilot uniform. We'd decided he'd be more memorable that way. He was chatting with some executives about aviation, playing the part perfectly. At 7:23, she saw me. I've seen people describe faces draining of color but never really witnessed it until that moment. She went white, then red, then white again. Her hand shook enough that champagne spilled on her dress. The VP asked if she was okay. She mumbled something about needing air and started walking toward me. Halfway across the room, she spotted Rico. She froze. Literally stopped mid-stride like someone had paused her. Her head swiveled between us like a broken sprinkler. Rico raised his beer in a small toast. I did the same with my scotch. She chose to approach me first. Wrong choice. Damon, what? I thought you were in Chicago? Deal fell through. Thought I'd surprise you for your big night. I kept my voice pleasant, casual. You look beautiful, by the way. That dress I bought you fits perfectly. Her mouth opened and closed. Behind her, Rico was making his way over, taking his time, letting her sweat. Sienna. He called out warmly. Babe, why didn't you tell me Damon would be here? We could have carpooled. The look on her face when he said my name, like someone had just explained quantum physics to a goldfish. You know each other? 3 weeks now, I said. Rico's been teaching me about aviation. Fascinating stuff. In exchange, I've been showing him investment opportunities. Real ones, not the kind where someone gets a 15% finder's fee. Direct hit. She stepped back. Oh, Rico added, and Brad sends his regards. He couldn't make it tonight. Something about feeling sick after learning about your collection. That's when she knew we knew everything. Can we talk about this outside? Her voice was barely a whisper. Why? I asked. Your promotion ceremony starts in 30 minutes. We wouldn't want you to miss that. She tried tears next. Of course she did. Please, you don't understand. The trophy box? The investment kickbacks? Minimum 3, concurrent relationships? The corporate fraud with the duplicate +1 billing? What don't we understand? People were starting to notice the tension. Her boss was looking our way. She saw him looking and tried to compose herself. If you try to make a scene. We're not going to make a scene, Rico said calmly. Scenes are unpredictable. We prefer presentations. Right on cue, the lights dimmed for the award ceremony to begin. Everyone started moving toward their seats. Sienna had no choice but to go to the head table. She looked back at us one more time, and I saw it in her eyes. She was calculating, trying to figure out how to spin this. The CEO started his speech about excellence and integrity. Rico and I took seats at different tables, both with clear views of the stage. His AV friend was in the tech booth, waiting. 20 minutes of standard corporate speeches. Awards for top performers in different categories. Then, finally, Sienna's moment. And now, for our newest regional sales director, someone who embodies the values of our company. The presentation started. Her professional headshot, her sales numbers, her achievements. She stood up, forced smile plastered on, walking toward the stage. Then the technical difficulty hit. The screen flickered. Instead of her sales charts, a different presentation began. Our presentation. It started subtle, screenshots of her text to different men, timestamps visible. The room assumed it was a mistake, some nervous laughter. Then the investment screenshots appeared, showing the finder's fee arrangement. The laughter stopped. The trophy box photos. The billing fraud evidence. The group chat messages about securing the bag. Each slide timed perfectly, staying just long enough to register before moving on. The room was dead silent except for the hum of the projector. Sienna stood frozen halfway to the stage. The CEO was looking between her and the screen, his face shifting from confusion to horror. The regional VP who'd been laughing with her earlier looked like he'd swallowed a wasp. The final slide, a compilation of her company's code of conduct violations, with corresponding evidence beside each one. Then it ended. The regular presentation resumed as if nothing had happened. The CEO spoke first. Ms. Williams, I think we need to discuss this in private. Immediately. She turned to find me in the crowd, then Rico. We were already leaving, separately, calmly. No drama, no confrontation. We'd said everything that needed saying without speaking a word to the room. But we weren't quite done. In the lobby, we'd left USB drives at the coat check for specific people, the CEO, the head of HR, and Keisha, who'd confirmed she'd handle distribution to Sienna's other victims. Each drive contained the full documentation, organized and indexed. As I walked to my car, my phone exploded with texts from Sienna. How could you do this? You've ruined my life. This is illegal. I'll sue you both. Please, can we talk? I'm sorry. I loved you. You're a psychopath. Please answer me. I blocked her number. Rico texted that he'd done the same. We met at Brendan's bar 2 hours later. The same booth where this all started. We didn't celebrate or high-five. We just sat there, drinking quietly. Feel better? He asked. Not better. Just balanced. Like the scales are even now. Yeah, I get that. We drank in silence for a while. You know what the get up part is? Rico said eventually. I actually learned a lot from this. About trust, about watching for red flags, about my own boundaries. Same. Expensive lesson, but probably worth it long term. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. It was Keisha. She's been terminated effective immediately. Escorted from the building. Her corporate accounts are frozen pending investigation of the investment scheme. Thought you should know. I showed Rico. He nodded. What about Brad? The third guy? Keisha's reaching out to him tomorrow with the evidence. His call what to do with it. We finished our drinks. As we were leaving, Rico said, this is probably weird, but do you want to grab dinner next week? Like, normal dinner. As friends. Yeah, man. I'd like that. We shook hands in the parking lot. Two guys who'd been played by the same woman, who'd turned betrayal into justice, who'd formed an unexpected brotherhood in the process. As I drove home, I thought about Sienna. She was probably in her apartment, trying to figure out how to salvage her life. No job, no reputation, no more marks to manipulate. Did I feel bad? No. She'd made her choices. We'd simply ensured she faced the consequences. The farmer in me appreciated the poetry of it. You reap what you sow. She'd planted deception and manipulation. Tonight, she harvested the crop she'd cultivated. Final update, the aftermath. Posted 2 weeks after the execution. It's been 2 weeks since the event. I wasn't going to update again, but the aftermath has been substantial enough that I felt it deserved documentation. Sienna's collapse. The professional destruction was immediate and complete. Within 48 hours, she was terminated from her position with cause, meaning no severance, no unemployment benefits, and no reference. The investment kickback scheme triggered a broader investigation that revealed she'd been doing this for 2 years, totaling over $200,000 in hidden commissions. The pharma world is smaller than you'd think. Word spread. She's been blacklisted from every major pharmaceutical company in the region. Her LinkedIn went from regional sales director to no listed position. Then it disappeared entirely. Brad, the third guy, turned out to be more vindictive than Rico or me. When Keisha gave him the evidence, he went a different route. Turns out his brother is a lawyer specializing in fraud cases. They're pursuing civil action for the $75,000 she convinced him to invest in various schemes over 4 months. He also found 2 other men she'd done this to before us. They're joining the suit. The ripple effect. Remember the trophy box? One of the items was a class ring from the Naval Academy. Rico recognized it and tracked down the owner through military networks. The guy, Warren, had been with her 3 years ago. She'd convinced him to co-sign a car loan, then disappeared. He'd been paying it off to protect his credit. Warren still had messages where she'd admitted to various frauds. He took them to the police. There's now an active investigation into her activities spanning 5 years. Her friend group imploded. Keisha forwarded us some of the fallout. Apparently, Sienna had borrowed money from several friends, slept with 2 of their boyfriends, and had been spreading personal information she'd gained in confidence. The group chat that used to celebrate her roster became a support group for her victims. Personal consequences. She tried reaching out through everything: fake social media accounts, emails, even a handwritten letter to my office. The letter was 8 pages of alternating between blaming us, blaming her childhood, begging for forgiveness, and threatening legal action. I gave it to my lawyer. He laughed and said she had no case, everything we'd shared was true and documented. The presentation at her work event could be argued as a personal dispute that happened to occur in a professional setting. No laws broken. She showed up at my apartment building last Tuesday. Security wouldn't let her in, I'd warned them. She sat in the parking lot for 3 hours before police asked her to leave. Rico had a similar experience, but she tried to ambush him at the airport. TSA doesn't play around with disturbances. She got a federal warning. The unexpected. Here's what I didn't expect: the brotherhood that formed from this. Rico and I have dinner every Tuesday now. We've moved past bonding over Sienna to actual friendship. He's teaching me to fly, I'm taking lessons. I'm helping him evaluate investment properties. We even started a small investment group with Brad and Warren, guys who've been burned and learned from it. Warren brought an interesting perspective. He's a therapist now, career change after the Navy, and helped us understand what we dealt with. Sienna exhibited classic signs of antisocial personality disorder, the lack of empathy, the elaborate deceptions, the trophy keeping. It wasn't personal. We were just resources to her. That helped, actually. Understanding it was pathological, not personal. Where we are now. I'm dating again. Nothing serious yet, but I'm approaching it differently. More aware of red flags, but not paranoid. The experience taught me to trust but verify, to listen to my instincts, and that someone trying to be everything you want is probably not being themselves. Rico met someone last week. A flight attendant who called him out for checking his phone too much on their first date. He liked that she had boundaries. They're going out again tomorrow. Brad's focused on the lawsuit and his business. Warren's been with his current partner for 2 years. Going through this actually brought them closer. Where she is now. Last I heard, Sienna moved back to her parents' house in another state. Her social media is gone. Her phone numbers are disconnected. The legal issues are ongoing, but she's essentially disappeared from our lives. Someone asked if I regret going nuclear. If maybe we went too far. No. She was a predator. She studied people's vulnerabilities and exploited them. She was escalating, from one victim to 3 concurrent ones, from small manipulations to significant fraud. The promotion would have given her access to more victims with more to lose. We didn't ruin her life. We revealed it. There's a difference. The lessons. Trust your instincts. Every red flag I noticed but dismissed was valid. Document everything. The evidence we gathered protected us legally and validated our experience. Don't go through it alone. Rico and I were stronger together than apart. Consequences matter. People like Sienna continue because they never face real consequences. Recovery is possible. All of us are doing better now than before. The end. This is my last update. The story is over. Sienna is gone, the friend group has formed, and life has moved on. To anyone reading this who's going through something similar, you're not crazy. The gaslighting, the manipulation, the feeling that something's off but you can't prove it, trust yourself. And if you find out you're not alone in being victimized, consider joining forces. There's strength in numbers and validation in shared experience. To anyone who thinks we were too harsh, you didn't live it. You didn't see the calculated cruelty, the pleasure she took in deception, the lives she was destroying for money and entertainment. We gave her exactly what she earned. Rico just texted. Tuesday dinner is at a new place, a steakhouse that just opened. Not Rosewood, that place is permanently ruined for both of us. But a new place, a fresh start. That's what this whole thing gave us, really. A fresh start, with our eyes wide open. Thanks for following along. Take care of yourselves out there. And remember, when someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time. Damon. Edit. Since several people have asked, yes, this is real. No, I won't be providing additional identifying details or evidence. We've been advised by our lawyers to keep documentation private pending the ongoing investigations. Also, to those saying we should have just walked away, respectfully, that's exactly what enables people like this to continue their patterns. Sometimes the right thing isn't the easy thing. Edit 2. For those asking about the legality of recording, we consulted with lawyers beforehand. Our state is a one-party consent state for recording. The presentation at the event was factual information displayed without commentary. The USB drives were given to relevant parties who had a legitimate interest in the information. We stayed within legal boundaries, which is why she has no case against us despite her threats. Final edit, disable inbox replies. The story is told. Moving on with life. To everyone who shared their similar experiences, you're not alone, and you deserved better. To the critics, I hope you never have to find out what you do in our situation. Peace out. Thank you so much for watching until the end. If you really like our videos, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Have a great day.